All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. My first cup of coffee just kicked in, so I was worried it was not kicking in time, but here we are. I'm ready to go. So thank you all for joining us today at the Appel Center for the Performing Arts for Downtown Inc.'s Spring 2023 Downtown Update. My name is Jonathan Damaris. I'm the director of Downtown Inc., the organization committed to driving, enhancing, and encouraging investment in downtown York as part of the York County Economic Alliance team. Today, we'll collectively celebrate our community's recent successes while looking forward to the future. We'll hear more about where downtown York has been, and more importantly, where downtown York is going. And to kick things off, I'd like to introduce the chair of the York Business Improvement District Authority Board of Directors, Anuri Perez.
Thank you, John, and good morning, everyone. All right, so in addition to my role on the board, I am part of the Fulton Bank Downtown York team, and all of us there are very excited about the recent investment and large-scale development in downtown York. These developments will play a transformational role, not only in the community's economic future, but its quality of place for many years to come. Downtown York, with the help of York County Economic Alliance, has emerged as one of the premier locations for development opportunities. Today, you'll hear about the transformational Codorus Greenway project as it advances to phase one. This project will provide beautifying and creating better access and walkability to the 1.4-mile stretch of waterfront that bisects York City from city line to city line. It's anchored by York College Knowledge Park to the south and Wallspan to the north. This project allows our residents to further embrace the great outdoors. Plus, I cannot adequately express with the grand reopening of the Yorktown Hotel and what that means to York. The destination marketing efforts driven by Downtown Inc. in combination with the Yorktown opening will bring thousands of new visitors to impact our downtown for many years to come. More to come on that this morning as well. I'm also excited to hear updates from residential realtor and a commercial realtor that have joined us today. With the housing market changes, we'll hear how this impacts our downtown and what we can look forward to as we continue to live and grow in this city. So thanks for joining us today to hear about this exciting developments that are happening here in downtown, building and work on investments for future years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Nuri. Before we get started with today's program, I want to thank the Appel Center for the Performing Arts for hosting us this morning. Let's all give them a round of applause. As I have a chance to connect with other Main Street organizations throughout the state and our region, we often give tours of downtown York. A number of them are often very jealous that we have a historic theater as beautiful as the one we have here today. So please join me in welcoming Todd Fogdale, President and CEO of the Appel Center, to say a few words. Todd?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome again to the Capitol Theater, the Appel Center for the Performing Arts. It's truly our joy and honor to have all of you here with us. And hopefully you've been with us here recently for some of the great events that we've had going on. And we've also recently announced the first events in our 23-24 season. And I just want to share a few highlights with you right now, starting with the Gladfelter Insurance Broadway series. We are going to open up in February with the Cher Show. And this is big Broadway, fabulous, fun, all of the costumes, the loves, the losses, and of course, the music of the wonderful Cher. And then for the first time ever in York, Pennsylvania, we will be bringing the Book of Mormon, probably one of the most fun and entertaining but also touching musicals that you will ever see. And that will be here for 2 performances in April of 2024. And we still have one Broadway show that we will be announcing a little bit yet later this season that we're also very excited to bring here to the community. Lots of music and concerts coming up. Really thrilled that the first two shows that you see on the top here, the jazz great Pat Metheny and also country superstar Pam Tillis, are going to be right here in the Capitol Theater. 450 seats to see these wonderful artists in such an intimate and up-close opportunity. We have the great Michael Bolton, who's going to be with us next door in the Strand Theater, Canadian Brass. We've got classic rock with the Atlanta Rhythm section, and much, much more. We're always trying to find new types of events to bring into the community, new ways to engage with our guests. And some of the fun things that we have coming up include the Rocky Horror Picture Show, including the shadow cast called Chocolate Covered Rocky Horror. We're also bringing the Wheel of Fortune live into the Strand Theater, where guests have a chance to register, to spin the big wheel, solve the puzzles, win prizes, just like you see on the TV show. And then a show that's based on a podcast that's called History That Doesn't Suck. And if you're into history, American history, I really suggest you check out this podcast by Professor Greg Jackson. It's fast-paced, it's extremely informative, and we're going to be bringing a live version of that podcast right here into the Capitol Theater. Learning and education is also extremely important to us, and we have some fun summer opportunities coming up. We have a Tot Rock program, which is a Saturday drop-in program for families and young children. We've got some great opportunities for a little bit older students, a songwriting class, as well as something we're calling Mastering the Music, which is all about auditioning and sort of mental preparation and things like that. And then, I'm going to butcher the name of this last one, but in partnership with Keystone Kidspace, we're doing a camp that's called Whap-A-Ma-Phone. And your young people, or the young people who will be involved with this, are going to build a Whap-A-Ma-Phone, which is an instrument built out of PVC pipes. And if you've ever seen the Blue Man Group and you see them whacking on things, that's one of the instruments that they use. Now, the best way to get involved with all of this is as a member. Membership starts at $75. You get opportunities to buy tickets to all of these shows at exclusive pre-sales before the general public. You get discounts. You get other special opportunities throughout the year. We are actually on member pre-sale with almost all of these shows, not yet with Book of Mormon. That'll be in December. But with all the other shows, and then we will be on public sale starting this Friday, the 12th. Thank you again for being with us, and we hope to see you around the Appel Center. Thank you.
I love how we always ask Todd to give these amazing presentations of all these great things happening here at the Appel Center, these awesome Broadway shows. And this morning you're stuck with me, and I cannot dance or sing. So apologies, but thank you, Todd. We're grateful to our many partners who make this work possible. And today we are especially grateful for M&T Bank, our presenting sponsor, as well as Business Information Group, our live stream sponsor. At this time, I want to welcome Tom Kottman, Market President for M&T Bank. Tom?
Thank you, John, and good morning to all. M&T is very excited to sponsor this morning's Downtown Update. As some of you may know, we trace our roots back to the York Bank and Trust, which was founded here, downtown, on January 1st, 1810, when our country was still in its infancy. So fast forward 213 years, and we're still deeply tied to York County, and more specifically downtown, where we employ more than 60 people in our locations along Market Street. So whether we're driving commerce or home ownership with our lending activities, whether we're teaching and coaching around financial literacy, whether we're supporting our great cultural treasures monetarily, or creatively seeking ways to help our human service nonprofit partners thrive, we believe M&T's success is deeply connected to the success of our community here in York. We take that responsibility very seriously, and we're thrilled to see the great positive momentum we're going to hear about today. Again, it's our real pleasure to sponsor this morning's program, and thank you all for joining.
At this time, I do want to let you know that the mayor couldn't join us today. He is ill, so he does send his regrets that he's unable to make it, but we hope to have him joining us next time. All right. Before we hear about some of the large-scale development happening around downtown York, you'll hear from Silas in a little bit. I'd like to focus in on some of the work of Downtown Inc. From this past year, and to give you an update on the state of our downtown. As many of you know, Downtown Inc. is the organization committed to driving, enhancing, and encouraging investment in downtown York. And we do that in 4 ways: economic development, promotions, placemaking, and public safety. And we do all this as an affiliate of the York County Economic Alliance. To highlight our organization's economic development efforts, I'd like to provide you with a quick glimpse into our merchant engagement and support, the Bloom Business Empowerment Center, and the York County Trail Towns program. Our community's growth has been visible, not only to those who are local, but regionally and nationally as well. Much of downtown's visibility can be attributed to the exciting small business growth over the past few years. While downtown York was not invincible when it came to the effects of the pandemic, we still have a net business gain of 40 new businesses in the past 3 years, not including businesses opening secondary or larger locations in our downtown. And for the first time in over 20 years, both Central Market and Penn Market are filled to capacity with vendors. And that's something worth applauding for. Downtown Inc. continues to play a vital role in the success of our community's small businesses, striving to be accessible and a vital source of information to all. We do that through our monthly merchant engagement newsletters, daily postings in our Facebook merchant groups, regular attendance at the 3 micro-district merchant meetings, in addition to in-person visits, phone calls, emails, and as of last night at 10 p.m., Facebook messages, and so much more. We provide monthly business series webinars on topics relevant to our downtown merchants, topics like digital and social media marketing, being a trail-friendly business, leveraging destination marketing tools, and so much more. And you are all invited to our next Bloom Business Series webinar, Being a Good Neighbor, on May 17th, as we learn about merchant versus owner responsibilities, including property maintenance and signage regulations, responding with compassion towards the unhoused populations, and other things to know so that you can be a good neighbor in your community. Central to our merchant engagement and retention efforts is our work with the Bloom Business Empowerment Center, which offers Business 101 and 201 classes in both English and Spanish, grants, loans, and other technical assistance. In 2022 alone, over 500 individuals participated in Bloom's educational resources, with many downtown York businesses receiving Bloom grants aimed at women-owned businesses and trail-friendly businesses. And just by a show of hands, how many people have attended a Bloom Business Series webinar or a 101 class or 201 class? So there you go. And Sully's in the crowd somewhere. I'm sure she's smiling seeing all those hands raised. Leveraging the York Heritage Rail Trail as a platform and a driver for economic development, the York County Trail Towns program continues to grow alongside the growing number of trail users. Across all the Trail Town communities, there are now 35 trail-friendly designated businesses, focusing on providing resources and amenities to trail users. Of those 35, we now have 8 here in downtown York, of which several have received Trail Town grant fundings, like Refillism. They are able to get bike amenities and a new inventory for trail users, and Cornerstone Barbershop for a trash cleanup kiosk. In addition to our economic development work, Downtown Inc. also focuses on promotions, including our growing social media presence, large-scale destination marketing efforts, ongoing events to drive increased foot traffic, as well as our newly launched Districts app. And our social media presence continues to grow with each year, reaching more and reaching wider audiences with daily content promoting events, businesses, experiences, and so much more in downtown York. In addition to our continuously growing Facebook presence and booming Instagram, we've also launched in the past year the Downtown York TikTok. We've asked Silas to do a dance on the TikTok, and we're still waiting on that dance. And then we'll see engagement soar. To put this exciting growth in perspective, downtown York's 27,500 Facebook followers far exceeds many of our peer organizations and is on par with the region's premier downtown and Main Street destinations. With the support of Explore York and in conjunction with the opening of the Yorktown Hotel, we've also launched multiple destination marketing campaigns targeting geographic areas outside of York County through TV and radio ads, billboards, geo-targeted ads, and magazines, including Philadelphia Magazine and Baltimore Magazine. And this spring, we hired a social media influencer who promoted the Yorktown Hotel and more than 10 businesses in downtown York, reaching over 42,000 of her Instagram followers, who were primarily focused in the Philadelphia area. And just a few weeks ago, downtown York was featured by Stays and Getaways as one of the perfect spring weekend getaways within 4 hours of Washington, D.C., reaching their 139,000 Instagram followers. In the past year, we've also launched the location-aware mobile app Districts, and if you look on the back of your program, there is an ad for Districts, and you can scan that right now if you'd like. Guests in downtown York who use this free app will be able to discover retailers, restaurants, and events, as well as parking locations and service providers. As mobile users enter downtown, they'll receive a welcome greeting, and the app opens to reveal anything a visitor wants to know about the community. We've partnered with the Yorktown Hotel to market the free use of the app to all of their guests, and we are currently looking for more co-marketing opportunities. As of today, there are 95 active downtown York merchants using this app. If your business is not on the app, you can talk to me afterwards and I'll help you get connected. We continue to publish quarterly magazines available throughout downtown York, as well as at 14 PA welcome centers and rest stops. The Spring 2023 magazine just dropped last week, and it focuses on stories related to the opening of the historic Yorktown Hotel. And I believe there are still some copies in the lobby if you'd like to grab some copies, and they're also available throughout downtown York at all of your favorite downtown shops or restaurants. Monthly, we celebrate the phenomenal merchants and organizations of downtown York with our Merchant of the Month initiative. Monthly winners are featured in a TikTok and Instagram reel, reaching thousands of new customers for their business. And our most recent winner in April was Homegrown Marketplace in Central Market. And be sure to stay tuned for the announcement of our May Merchant of the Month very soon. And of course, in addition to all these promotions, we coordinate events to bring even more visitors to our downtown. Last month, we hosted our 15th annual Go Green in the City event, which we estimated brought in between 5,000 and 7,000 visitors. And we invite you to join us on May 20th, coming up soon, for our Sweetest Pint tasting tour, where we pair local craft beer with chef plates, highlighting some of the coolest new and old places to visit in downtown York. This year's tour includes stops at the Yorktown Hotel, Goosa by Victoria, Love Drafts Unplugged, Gift Horse Brewing, and several more. Central to our work as an organization is our commitment to downtown York's quality of place. Among many, our placemaking efforts focus on beautification, cleanliness, walkability, and our soon-to-be-installed wayfinding. Last year for Give Local York, we partnered with local artist Ophelia Chambliss for the installation of a beautiful mural located in Clark Avenue. And just last week for our 2023 campaign, we worked with Chelsea Foster of Tetra Designs for a large-scale mural, and when I say large-scale, I mean large-scale, it's big, that will soon hang outside of the pool room in the Yorktown Hotel. And we're excited for that to be hanging up there soon. And not only does Downtown Inc. Seek to install public art, but we're always looking for ways to maintain our existing public art. Through some grant funding, Downtown Inc. was able to pay for the restoration of Robert Machovik's farmhouse cat sculpture, which you can see on North George Street. We did that earlier this year. His head fell off, and we're excited to see his head back on, beautifully restored. And we certainly can't forget our amazing beautification efforts and partners at the Garden Club of York, who assist us every year with the plantings of 238 hanging baskets and over 90 sidewalk planters throughout downtown York, of course with the financial support of Downtown Inc. And this year's plantings are scheduled for May 16th, and you are all invited to join us. 3 years ago, we secured the funding for the installation of 110 pole banners throughout downtown, featuring the work of 11 local artists and the branding of the city of York, downtown York, and the 3 microdistricts. In partnership with the city, we continue to seek maintenance and repair to these beneficial streetscape enhancements. We continue to partner with Christmas Addicts to facilitate our cleanup crew, responsible for the 26 blocks of downtown York. And if you see a member of our crew around town, please stop and say thank you for all of their dedication and service to beautifying our downtown. A few years ago, we launched our Downtown Clean 15 initiative, where we encourage residents and businesses and property owners to set aside 15 minutes each month to tidy up your outdoor space to collectively improve downtown York's quality of place for all. And if you want to do that, you can use the hashtag DowntownClean15, and out of all of our submissions each month, we always award a prize pack courtesy of Explore York. This past year, we also helped repair 5 trench drain covers in downtown York, and we continue to look for more sources of funding for more repairs to ensure that our sidewalks remain safe and accessible for all. Over the past year, we have been completing an audit of downtown York's wayfinding signage, and in short, it's not great. Our current wayfinding dates back to 1998, and as you can see from the photos here, they aren't in the best shape. My favorite one is the bottom right-hand corner. I like to call it the choose your own adventure sign. But I am excited to announce that the new wayfinding signage is set to be installed very soon. The designs and the funding are in place, and soon downtown York will be home to not only new vehicular-centric signage with updated branding, but pedestrian-oriented signs as well. These signs will be located at kiosks in the square, at the exits of all the city parking garages, as well as in other high-traffic pedestrian areas. And thanks to Explore York for helping us with the funding. The updated wayfinding signage will also include a walk radius, highlighting the fact that all major downtown destinations are within a 5-minute walk of a parking garage, as well as micro-district branding and a digital component, allowing visitors to access information about the many places to visit in downtown York in over 30 languages. And it will not say People's Bank Park. I see Eric's already sent me an email. It'll be WellSpan Park, of course. We'll get that updated. And last, but certainly not least, Downtown Inc. remains committed to public safety here in downtown York. In coordination with the York City Police Department, downtown York is now home to 4 downtown designated officers, 2 daytime officers, and 2 evening officers, ensuring that there is a police presence in downtown whenever the need arises. Downtown Inc. has been in regular communication with the merchants, as well as providing rack cards with the headshots and direct contact information for these officers. And just last week, we organized a public safety walking tour of downtown, connecting these 4 officers with the merchants and residents in our community. With the support of Better York and in partnership with the York City Police Department and the York County Sheriff's deputies, Downtown Inc. continues to deploy police overtime, walking patrols for Friday and Saturday evenings between May and October. In addition to these law enforcement partnerships, Downtown Inc. continues to work with and support local organizations such as Friends and Neighbors and LifePath to connect individuals in need to resources. There's no denying that downtown York is on the rise, but that does not mean that the work of Downtown Inc. will diminish or slow. We are always looking for new and creative ways to continually enhance our historically edgy downtown, and we invite you to join us. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce my colleague at the York County Economic Alliance, Silas Chamberlain, our Chief Strategy Officer. Silas was essential to the affiliation of Downtown Inc. with the YCA in 2018 to strengthen both organizations and create greater economic impact through York County and downtown York. He also helped shape the forthcoming initial phase of the Codorus Greenway, the largest green infrastructure project in the City of York's history. Please help me welcome to the stage Silas Chamberlain.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here, and I always love these events because it's a room full of friends and people who are engaged in this work, and I know appreciate some of the hard work that happens over the course of years to make these projects happen. I've been allotted 20 minutes, which sounds like way too much, and I'm sure you'll be bored with this by the end of 20 minutes, and yet trying to cram everything good that's happening in downtown York in terms of development projects into a 20-minute presentation is really daunting because there's so many good things going on thanks to people in the room. So that's my nice way of saying, if you're working on a really cool project and it's not up here, blame John because he only gave me 20 minutes and we would need an hour to talk about your project. So maybe next downtown update. So I'll launch right in with one that we know very well, and everybody knows the Yorktown Hotel is now open, which is just a great contribution to our downtown, activating a space that was dormant for almost 7 years, and having those feet on the street, people coming into our community. Anybody who sat in the Davidson lobby at the bar has seen people coming in from out of town and experiencing York for the first time, and what better place to do it than in that beautiful lobby. So Jack and Kim Hogeman have put in a ton of work along with the Industrial Development Authority and our team, and the result's pretty remarkable. And yet our focus has been on getting the hotel operational so people can actually stay there. And now with the doors open, we get to move on to other opportunities to make the Yorktown even better than it is right now. So there's opportunities in the restaurant space along Market Street that has those beautiful windows looking out on the street level with outdoor dining. There's retail space on Market and on Duke that still is empty. And so we're working with True right now to identify tenants for those spaces. If you are interested or you know folks who might be interested in those spaces, please reach out to True, David Albright, Ben Chiro, our team, and let us know. I will say, though, we're going to be very picky because these are really great spaces that can both provide services to people staying at the hotel and hopefully launch them out into the community to see more, but also bring people into the hotel in new ways. So there's a lot of excitement around this. And there's a lot of excitement as well around continuing our vision to expand the Yorktown campus. So you might remember that when the Industrial Development Authority bought the hotel, they then also bought the former Zion Lutheran Church, which is just steps away from the hotel. And the vision all along has been to take this space and turn it into an events venue, overflow meeting space, and the whole intention is that if there's events coming into the Yorktown and they need that extra breakout session, or they want to have a cocktail hour, or they just need additional space, they'll be able to use Zion Lutheran Church as that overflow space. Obviously, it sort of looks like this right now. We have put some money into stabilizing the building, securing it, backlighting those beautiful stained glass windows so people can see, them at night, improving the landscaping and doing some other work. But we still have a lot of redevelopment ahead of us. Fortunately, we've secured $1 million towards that construction effort so far, and we're now turning our attention to this more and more. So a lot more will be said about Zion Lutheran Church, but just so you know, when you see it there, it's very much part of our future plans for the Yorktown. The second project I have a lot more to say about, and you guys know this project well because we've been talking about it for 6 or 7 years, but feel grateful because this York community has been talking about it for about 120 years. So the Codorus Greenway, 1.4 mile greenway, York College at the upstream end at their Knowledge Park that they're developing now, passing through the neighborhoods of our community, through our downtown, and then to Wellspan Park on the downstream end. Notice how I said Wellspan Park, but watch this. It still says Peoples Bank Park, so Eric, I'm sorry. But we're excited about this corridor because it links together just over $200 million of recent economic investment or things that are just about to happen along this 1.4 mile stretch. And that includes everything from affordable housing to market rate housing, K-12 education, public markets, and a lot of exciting things, some of which I'll talk about as part of this presentation. So when we began really diving into this project 6 years ago, we designed the 1.4 mile corridor and then focused in on a logical phase one that seemed logical at the time. And it was not what you're seeing here because the red has actually shifted, but the red is supposed to be encompassing King Street to Philadelphia. So right in the heart of the downtown, and that decision was made because of some of the conditions of the flood walls in those areas. And so we proceeded with designing this phase, doing these beautiful renderings, talking about why we were so brilliant for thinking about this as the first phase and all the reasons why it was great, and it is a great project. And then we heard from the Army Corps of Engineers that we had hit a roadblock, and that roadblock was the Market Street Bridge. And I want to preface this by saying Market Street Bridge is very safe to drive across. I drive across it every day, but it does have structural issues, and those structural issues are getting worse and worse. And so the Army Corps of Engineers said to us, if you want to do all this work downstream of Market Street Bridge, you need to address the bridge first. And that told us, okay, well, that's not going to be a quick process. Replacing a bridge, there's engineers in the room, but optimistically, let's say 5 to 10 years by the time you go from there's a problem to we've designed it, to we've permitted it, to we've raised the funding for it. We're not hoping to take a decade on this. We're actually working with the city, with the county's planning commission and MPO, and hopefully federal funders to help get this addressed sooner. But nonetheless, we didn't want to hold up the Greenway project until this was resolved. So there will be a new Market Street Bridge eventually. Until then, it's safe to drive on it, unless you're in like a really heavy tractor trailer, in which case someday there might be a weight restriction. But we are working on that. So we went back to the Army Corps and our steering committee and said we need to rescope this phase 1, and went back to an original vision of starting as far as we could upstream in the Greenway and then working our way downtown, noticeably ending the project for the most part upstream of Market Street Bridge, and then just a little trail connection down to Foundry Plaza. The other thing to note about the area of this red is, compared to the first phase 1, which was going to be pretty compact because there was a lot of really expensive money being spent on flood walls and stuff, this allows us to achieve much more of the Greenway project within our first phase than that original intent. The other, so here's some images of it. Standing at Grantley on your right, the Knowledge Park, which has been, since this photo was taken, under redevelopment and starting to really take shape. The Densply property on the left, which the city's RDA has taken a lead on trying to reposition. But you can see there is no public access here. There's no trail connections. It's not green, very steep slopes, feels like private space. And we would be installing a West Bank trail that begins at Bance Park, a very popular neighborhood park just off screen, traveling along the Densply property towards Penn Street, as you can see, complementing the Knowledge Park on the right, laying back the slopes to allow people to actually get down to the water's edge and create public access. And this is another look of it from College Avenue, where on the right, Homes at Thaxton Phase 2 is now well underway towards construction and completion. But if you notice, I don't know if this episode's only up, does, just how steep these slopes are. There's actually fencing along here. And so this feels very much like a private asset in a neighborhood where people can't really get down and enjoy it. But as part of our project and in coordination with the Housing Authority, we would create public access to the creek, lay back those steep slopes, install riparian buffers, and create some of the first public access in multiple generations to these neighborhoods. You can also see the West Bank Trail continuing through the project, connecting all this together and continuing down to this segment, which is Logos Academy on right, the food bank to the south, and again, very steep slopes, inaccessible to the creek, and adding a trail within the levee system itself with those watershed improvements, and then those public access points to get back up to some of the assets along it. This switchback that you can't see very well is really critical because we think a lot of people want to use this West Bank Trail in order to access the big asset that's over here, which is the Rabbit Transit Station. And then that trail, although it went off screen, will continue down to Foundry Plaza, and that's where it ends as part of phase 1. So you will get a trail from Foundry Plaza to Bance Park, almost a mile long, as part of the phase 1 of this project, in addition to a lot of the Greenway improvements. So one of the reasons that I think this phase is actually more exciting than the original phase is that we'll be investing significantly in this green infrastructure project. Our original vision would have had that happen right in the heart of the downtown, and instead, this funding will be invested in recreation and open space and public access in a neighborhood of the city, adjacent to a neighborhood of the city where there's still very high levels of persistent poverty, not just relative to the rest of the city, but the rest of the county. And it's a community where over a quarter, approaching a third of households don't have personal automobiles. So These off-street connections that connect to educational institutions, the downtown, connect neighborhoods together, connect to rapid transit, are really important for safe routes to school, for people navigating their community and their downtown and the city overall. It really creates a multimodal spine right through the heart of the city that connects to everything around it. So everything I just showed you in that phase one is a huge price tag. It's $25.4 million. But the good news is we've secured $26 million. So we are fully funded for everything that you just saw. Thank you. And so our critical path obstacle that we still have to overcome is a full permit from the Army Corps of Engineers. And that's, as you can imagine, a federally regulated bureaucratic process, but we are working that process very diligently. And as a result, this year, this summer, you will see the first element of phase one begin. It is demolition of the Baskill Gate Dam, which for those of you familiar, it's just downstream from Philadelphia Street. It's been stuck in an upright position for a long time, inoperable. The Army Corps actually dictated to the city that they demolish this and restore the site and the natural flow of the water. And City Council recently allocated $500,000 to the YCEA to help make this happen. So probably late summer, when water flows are hopefully at their lowest, the demolition of the dam will occur, restoration of the site and plantings and removing the base of the dam and things like that. And that'll be the first tangible piece of phase one. And while we are working on that, we hope to be getting to 100% approval on our Army Corps permit, which will allow us to move forward with construction in 2024. I could easily stand up here 2 years from now and give you the same thing with different dates, and I'm not gonna promise you I won't, because we have been working on this for a century and there's a reason that this project's not done yet, but we are closer than we've ever been before. We've raised more funding for it ever before. We're working with the federal government and state government closer than ever before. And the goal is to make this happen, whether it's within the next 6 months or the next year or the next several years. But we're really excited about the progress we're making. And we will have some Q&A time if you have any questions about that. Next project I want to talk about is actually a little simpler, but no less time intensive. This is called Ballpark Commons. These are the properties on North George Street, located between the stadium and North George Street. This goes back to June of 2005, and I'm sure many of you in the room sat on steering committees or helped fund this report. It was cleverly named the York Outdoor Recreation Complex, or York. So when you hear people talk about the York study, this is it. And this is the plan that really said we should attract and build a professional baseball stadium in downtown York, and we shouldn't stop there. There's improvements that should happen all around it. And one of the improvements within the plan was come up with a way to maximize this property between the stadium and between North George Street. And so for the past, 15 years or so, the Industrial Development Authority has slowly acquired the 9 parcels that are located in that block. Within the last year, with funding from the county's Land Bank Authority, demolished those properties and then reseeded and regraded the block so that it was ready for redevelopment. We don't have a clear plan of what this will look like. We will have a building on this site, a brand new building, and it will be mixed use, but don't pay close attention to the design because we're very early on. But some kind of mix of, hospitality, restaurant use, retail, potentially office on the second floor, and there's other things you could do with this site as well. It's the gateway into our northern gateway into the downtown. It's the last corner in that intersection that had blighted properties on it, and we think it can be an asset for the stadium and for North George Street. Here's just a different view, again with that darn People's Bank logo and not the WellSpan logo, but we'll get there. And so an attractive building that'll complement the space is really what we're shooting for. And we're in early phases of talking with development partners who can help us get this done, bring some capital to the table, bring expertise to the table, and work with the Industrial Development Authority to make the project happen. Like some of our other projects, we've also raised $4 million already in state funding towards construction. So that will help with the redevelopment of this project, but also capital improvements at the stadium itself. So a lot of positive attention to this area to make sure our our stadium is successful and this block is successful. The last bricks and mortar project I want to talk about is Federal Post Office. This is at 200 South George on right across from Cobblestones, or the former Cobblestones, which is also going through its own redevelopment process. An iconic building that I think all of you are aware of. You know, it was a federal post office, and then it went into private hands and has been there for over a decade. Pretty much empty. Downtown Inc.'s work on this site goes back to hosting a masquerade ball here, and some of you might have actually come to that back in the day. This was so long ago that we've been working on this that Dylan was still chilly dilly selling ice cream out of a truck, and he looks like he's 19, but that was only 2018, so it's not that long ago. But we have hosted tours of this. There's been fits and starts with being able to acquire it, and the goal has always been get it back in public ownership so that we can position it for redevelopment. And last year we did. We had private funders that worked with the Redevelopment Authority of the County of York, and we were able to acquire 200 South George, and now are working with partners to talk about what this space can be. It's a beautiful space, but it is gigantic, and it's a big undertaking. And I don't want to steal other organizations' thunder as they move forward with their due diligence, but they're a very dynamic educational institution looking at this as a potential location in the York market, and I'm sure you'll hear a lot more about that as their process moves forward. So we're really excited about that, and we think it'll activate a lot of the properties on South George, effectively extending our downtown another couple blocks. And we've secured $2 million already to start that redevelopment process. And then Yoco Fiber Urban Wireless. This one may seem out of place, but I'll bring it back home. The county has allocated $20 million countywide to bridge the digital divide. A lot of that work is happening in rural parts of the county where there's no fiber infrastructure. And so we're spending $20 million to build 144 miles of fiber into places like Delta and Southeastern School District, Red Lion, out towards Hanover, areas where near 2/3, 3/4 of households don't have internet access. And that is well underway. But we also want to address internet connectivity in our urban areas, including the city of York, where 44% of households don't have access to internet, even though there is fiber infrastructure. They either can't afford it, they can't sign up for a contract, they don't understand the affordability programs because they aren't marketed well, they don't have the right device, or they don't know their device can connect. So we know there's a big problem with connectivity in the city of York. And that's why the county commissioners allocated $5 million to build out free public Wi-Fi networks that'll cover the whole city of York, North York Borough, West York Borough, portion of Spring Garden, our urban core in the York area, and in Hanover. We did a design for this with Business Information Group, one of the sponsors today, and they plotted out the costs of doing this and what it would look like to operate it. It is very intensive in terms of how much infrastructure is installed and then what it takes to operate that. But we are now at $7 million raised towards this, above and beyond the $5 million for capital. We've raised almost $2 million to operate and maintain it for the first 3 years at least, thanks to the city of York, York County, Powder Mill, Wareheim, our partners that believe in closing the digital divide and know that this plan can do it. And the nice thing about this is we'll get started on installation of this network this year, and hopefully we'll be able to turn on phases of it as early as this year. It won't replace your Comcast bill if you like HD gaming or want to stream on 15 devices. But if you're a student that needs to access your portal to download your homework, or you're a senior that wants to do telehealth, you should have baseline high-speed internet to do that from your device at home. And of course, there's much more. The excitement around seeing Citizens Bank now having work actually happen in it with Ocean 10. Our world-class history center at the Med Ed plant that's, I know Joan Mummert might not put it this way, but almost done, feels. There's a ton of activity and it looks great, and it's gonna be another game changer for our downtown. The continued build out of market rate residential, thanks to Susquehanna Real Estate and Jack Kay and Phil Burdell on Duke Street with those really great views of the courthouse. And then even things like our Land Bank Authority that our county created several years ago that has demolished 25 blighted properties in the city of York and allocated $1.3 million. Blighted properties, have a ripple effect to the home prices of people who live in the city, to entire blocks and the way people perceive them. And so we've worked with Habitat for Humanity, Foursquare Development, and a bunch of other partners to provide demolition funding to them so that their projects can move forward. And we're really excited around that. And then my final point, because I'm out of my time, is that I talked almost solely about brick and mortar projects and these big capital projects, but we're really proud and think it's important that we continue to invest in the businesses themselves that are in the city of York. The bricks and mortar don't matter unless the businesses are there to fill them and activate the spaces. So in the last 3 years, we've awarded almost $6.5 million to nearly 500 businesses in the city of York alone. That is to help them recover from the pandemic, to help them buy equipment, to help them install new signage, seating, whatever their needs are to make their business more sustainable. And then you heard about our Bloom Grant program earlier, and we've made, of those totals that you saw, $200,000 in Bloom Grants to small businesses who came to us with good ideas, and we were able to invest in them. So hopefully, between the work that's happening around access to capital for businesses and the excitement around some of these large capital projects, it keeps all that momentum going that John did a great job capturing earlier. So with that, I think I'll turn it over to John to facilitate Q&A if you have any questions.
Thank you, Silas. I don't know about you all, that's pretty exciting to see all those things happening at the same time, which is really encouraging. So we do have some time for some Q&A before we invite our panelists to the stage. So I think is there a mic being passed around? Megan's over here with the microphone. So if you have any questions for Silas on this presentation, you can go ahead and raise your hand. I see Betsy right there in the middle with a question.
My question has to do with Cadorus Greenway. Will there be trail on both sides of the creek? I was trying to look at that the diagram.
So the Heritage Rail Trail will continue to be on top of the levee system on the east side of the bank. So we're not really, there's one or two places where we might encroach on it and have to, rebuild small sections of the trail, but generally it'll be the same route. The West Bank Trail is actually within the levee system, which will be new. There's not the real estate to build on the bank in most places, and so we'll be down in the system just out of the whatever year flood range that is. So you will have trails on both sides, eventually the entire length, but in this phase one, you'll have trail on both sides from Grantley to Philadelphia Street. Yeah, well, via the bridges. So, yep, and that's, I think, one of the exciting things for people that like to use trails for recreation and just the convenience for commuting and getting around town. All those loop trails are now available to you. So if you wanted to come up the West Bank, but then cut over on King Street to get to the courthouse or the police station, you could easily do that because you're coming right off that switch back up to King Street and passing. And then the nice thing that happens is, the city has invested a lot in bike lanes and those separated bike lanes on King Street. That ramp off of the West Bank Trail connects directly to that bike lane, so then that now connects you out into neighborhoods well beyond the Cadorus. So there's a lot of nice synergy between city investments and this investment. Thanks.
Is the idea that the waterway would be navigable to small crafts like inflatables and canoes and kayaks?
Yeah, it should be navigable to kayaks, canoes, inflatables. Right now, and this is where some change in thinking has happened over time, the Basque Gate Dam originally was to create a backed up flow of water so that people could paddle on it, but it sort of restricted you to that one part of the Cadorus. I think there'll be some excitement that you don't have a dam in that area so that you could kayak from, say, Vance Park or Point North, come down in the city, get off your kayak, continue down without having to go through the Basque Gate Dam and then continue the whole way to the Susquehanna if you wanted to. In doing a lot of public engagement and community meetings over the last few years, there's a lot of people that remember tubing on the Cadorus and putting in tubes at Vance Park and taking them down, a few bridges and then getting out and walking back. So to be able to do that again, I think would be nice. Part of that will take education, though, because right now I just don't think people view the Cadorus as something that they're allowed to access or that they should access because it's been cut off from the community for so long. But we want to see that. There's some state programs, the State Water Trail Program that we're looking into as well, which, you know, specifically identifies corridors that are good for kayaking and canoeing and provides some signage, you know, and things like that. So we're looking into that too. Tim?
The College Avenue Bridge is scheduled for repair or replacement. Will that happen in conjunction with this work that's going to be done in the creek?
So I won't know the time off the top of my head, but the replacement is actually happening pretty soon, I think within the next 18 months. So by the time they're wrapping up, we'll probably be going to construction. Our piece of this will go, they have our designs and we have theirs, so we're designing it in such a way they don't, you know, interfere with each other, but ours will go not under College Avenue. That's the space without, oh, it's actually, yeah, it's right there. So that's College Avenue Bridge. We will have a connector that goes underneath the bridge and connects to Point South, and then one that goes up towards what's envisioned to be a small park adjacent to Homes at Thaxton. But we don't see any interruption there. We're just not on as fast a timeline as they are. They are fully funded, they're fully designed. I just forget, I think it might have been like as early as this fall they might start construction. One of the ways that has come up as well is obviously when you close College Avenue, it increases traffic on other city bridges, and that led to our conversations about Market Street, which is a very heavily traveled, and it's one of the reasons it's probably not in great shape. It's just heavily used every day. Thinking through what the long-term traffic flow has to be when you start replacing College Avenue and then you replace Market Street, and thinking through some of the disruptions that has for the downtown. But those conversations are happening, fortunately, in the county. Mike Pritchard, you know, Chief Transportation for the county, has been leading those conversations.
I recognize this to be an age-old question, but I'm wondering if there's any new thinking of what can be done about the billboards, specifically the ones in the entrance to the park and at the industrial park on the corner of Philadelphia and Penn.
Oh.
The placement of those billboards.
Yeah. That one's well known to us. It's in our parking lot of our office. And that's, if our CFO was here, she could probably tell you the exact life of that lease. Or maybe anybody that sells billboard ads in here could say the same. I think we have that one for a while. I'm trying to picture the other one you're referring to, but I think, I know for a fact there are some billboards in our downtown that we're actively watching when those leases expire and talking about opportunities to purchase them and get rid of them, or purchase them and use them for, you know, community use. That's not one of them as far as I know, so that leads me to believe it's a pretty long-term lease.
All right, well, thank you, Silas.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. All right, so we have a great panel discussion coming up soon, so I want to keep things moving here. But we will have a chance for some Q&A with the panelists, and also I'm sure Silas will be around afterwards. And if you can't find him afterwards, you can always find him at the Green Bean. He's generally there, so you could enjoy some coffee with him. So first, I want to introduce and welcome to the stage James Parker, the Director of Sales and Marketing at the Yorktown Hotel. Having been in hospitality industry for 8 years, previously at the Hilton Harrisburg, and then overseeing a group of select service hotels in Hershey, James kept a close eye on the redevelopment of the Yorktown Hotel ever since its closure in November 2016. Attracted to the unique history of the Yorktown and its special place in New York's heart, he has been the Director of Sales and Marketing for the Yorktown Hotel since March 2022, and is thrilled to be sharing how the reopening of the hotel is progressing 3 months in. And I really tried dressing up today, but I couldn't even come close to James. He's always looking good. So let's welcome James to the stage.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Good morning, Appel Center. All right, I just need to see a show of hands first. So, and be honest, who thought the hotel would never actually open? I'm only joking, I'm not one of them. But it's my proud honor to say that we are finally open. And another show of hands, who's actually been to the hotel? I'm hoping everyone says, oh, perfect. That's most hands gone up there. So yeah, perfect, perfect. So yes, a long-awaited transformation. About 6 to 7 years it took to get the hotel open. There's just an image there of what it looked like before with the parking garage, and now we've got the beautiful arrival plaza right there. The sense of arrival is just amazing whenever you go to that space. And there we are. Actually, I think we said to our higher-ups, or they assumed on our first day of opening, they thought, oh, well, maybe we'll have 100 people come through or 200 people come through. Fast forward to about 600 to 700 people later. It was just an amazing day. There were so many people there, and it just really showed the emotional connection a lot of people have with the Yorktown Hotel. Embracing new ways of working. I will say, actually, for one of my biggest bugaboos for hotels is the Wi-Fi is slow. And I don't know if anyone's hooked up to the Wi-Fi here at our hotel, but it really is fast, and it works very well for anything you want to do. If you want to relax in the soft seating area of the hotel, you can sit, catch up on work, perhaps enjoy a drink while you're doing that. Just don't tell your boss. And there we go. So I'll see another show of hands as well. Who here loves the food at the Yorktown Hotel? That's 50% of the audience. I'll just assume that the other 50% hasn't tried the food. But ever since opening, I want to thank you all, actually, for the plaudits that have been coming through for our food. I think our kitchen staff's egos have increased tenfold since opening for all the good feedback we've been getting. But if you haven't had a chance to try the food, please come on down and try our food. We do, obviously, we do breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then all banquet services for the hotel. And there's our Davison lobby as well, which is the main hub of the hotel. I'm sure you're all familiar with that, and you've seen images of that space there, the space right there. I'm just going to lift that up a little bit, actually, no. So that's the main hub of the hotel right there, the Davison lobby, and I just love that terrazzo flooring right there. And then some of the meeting spaces of the hotel, it's the Barnhart Tea Room, which is just off the mezzanine area of the hotel. I'll go to the next slide as well, because a lot of the pieces of furniture in this room are actually pieces of furniture from the old hotel, so it's great that we could repurpose them and have them back here at the hotel. And the Stewart Company's room, capacity, it says 15 up there, but we have managed to get 20 people in there. It's a great conference space. It has like a library feel in there, so there's a lot of objects from the previous hotel that we've been able to have in there. So it's quite a nostalgic room, and it works very well for a small business meeting or a luncheon. We've actually done some chef's table events in there, 6 courses, which work very well. And then you've got the television in there for hookup too. I think I'll learn how to work this clicker very soon. Oh yes, I'm sure no one's ever heard of this. The Graham Rooftop Lounge. I often sometimes think that the hotel should be called the Graham Rooftop Lounge and Hotel rather than the Yorktown Hotel that has a rooftop lounge, but it speaks for itself. Beautiful views of York, can fit around about 50 to 60 interior, and then outside around about 100, so it's quite a space that we have there, and really excellent views. And there's some other images of the space there. In the Wellspan Ballroom, the main driver of banquet revenue for the hotel, can seat around about, banquet seating to about 250. We can get a little bit higher depending on what we have in that space. Reception capacity up to about 400 for that room. We're seeing increase for the hotel stretching out, I think, till actually 2026, which is just breathtaking. And there's a couple of images there. I just love the charger plate that we picked out. I think it looks beautiful. The Arrival Plaza, like I was speaking to earlier, that's where the parking garage used to be at the hotel, and just the sense of arrival coming there is just beautiful. And we've got the Roadster just there as well. And here we go on to next phase. I don't want to talk too much about this because Silas touched on this just a little bit earlier. The space for the restaurant, just where I believe Autographs was previously. We're still looking for a tenant for that area in the build-out, and it will increase our food and beverage offerings at the hotel. And as well, Silas mentioned the Zion Church as well, which could down the line become another banquet space, extra breakout space for extra needs from the hotel or extra conference space. And I think that speaks for itself. A project of this magnitude happens once every 100 years. One of the things that really surprised me the other day, I don't want to go too deep into the metrics of what we're seeing at the hotel, but we're only 3 months in, and typically for any new hotel, they're striving to see the numbers that we're seeing at 7 to 8 months, let alone 3 months. So it is just breathtaking how well the hotel is doing. Also on top of that, just the emotional connection. I always knew there was a huge emotional connection from people here in York to the Yorktown Hotel, but an interesting number that I saw just the other day, over 2/3 of all of our reservations are Hilton Honors members, which just shows the pull of Hilton to bring people to this property. Of course, everyone here knows about the Yorktown Hotel, but people further afield that aren't necessarily familiar, that relationship with Hilton and that pull with the Hilton Honors really does help us there. So I was actually, so yeah, that is all from me. I was actually speaking to my father this morning, and I told him I was doing some public speaking today, and he said, James, remember what I told you whenever you're growing up? He said, make sure you stand up, speak up, and then shut up, because there might be a little bit of a time constraint there. So ladies and gentlemen, we are the Yorktown Hotel Tapestry Collection by Hilton, and the best is yet to come. Thank you.
You know, as I said earlier, when I have a chance to welcome other Main Street organizations to downtown York and show them around, they're often blown away because they're like, and they're often jealous because they're like, you have a renovated historic theater and a renovated historic hotel? Yeah. So it's, and obviously, I can't, speak to the magnitude of having the Yorktown Hotel reopened in the glory that it is. It's already become a huge draw and will continue to be a huge draw for us as a downtown. And even just seeing the foot traffic leaving the hotel on a nightly basis, visiting restaurants, visiting shops, it brings a tear to your eye. So thank you, James, for that. Next, we are joined here today by two York City realtors. First is Aracelis Delgado Correa to the stage. Aracelis is a graduate of William Penn Senior High School. She has been a longtime resident of York, Pennsylvania, and is a bilingual realtor with House Broker Realty LLC, speaking English and Spanish. She specializes in residential sales through York and Adams County. Her affiliations include being a member of RAAC, PAR, and NAR, and she's also a member of the YCEA. In her 8 years of real estate, she has assisted more than 190 families in buying and selling their home in York and the surrounding counties. She takes pride in assisting her clients getting through the home buying journey smoothly, as well as educating the York community on the opportunity of home ownership. She has done so by volunteering for the first-time home buyers workshops with CPC and LHOP, hosting her very own workshops, and when she is not busy house hunting with her clients, she enjoys spending time with her 3 beautiful children. Welcome, Aracelis.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Aracelis Delgado Correa, and I am a residential real estate agent with House Broker Realty LLC. Thank you to Downtown Inc. for inviting me to give an update on the real estate market in the city of York. The data I am providing today is derived from the multiple listings service that comes directly from the Realtors Association of York and Adams County and the Bright MLS. I will be giving you a brief overview or description of the real estate terms for better understanding of the state of the market. The city of York is currently experiencing a seller's market. A seller's market arises when demand exceeds supply. This typically means that there are more interested buyers than there are sellers, but the housing industry is low. Since there are fewer homes available for sale, sellers are at an advantage. In a seller's market, homes sell faster, therefore sellers may experience multiple offers because buyers must compete to get their offers accepted. Due to this competition, prices tend to be higher than list price. So let's talk numbers. The median sales price in 2022 was 119,900. That is an increase of 242% in 10 years in home sale prices, as you can see in the charts provided. In 2021, the median sales price was 99,900. Inventory remains at an historic low in York and Adams County for 2023, so we may continue to see increases in home sale prices. RAYAC stats show that the number of homes sold in 2022 in the city of York was 609 homes for a total dollar value of over $73.4 million. Each home sold on average generated an economic impact of $63,194. Out of those 609 homes that were sold, 188 of them were detached homes, averaging a sales price of $156,500. 185 were semi-detached homes, averaging a sales price of $114,000, and 236 of those homes were attached homes. So that's where we got the overview value of $119,900. Okay. The 2022 number of home sales are down 9% over 2021, and in the first quarter of 2023, the number of home sales is down by 28% compared to 2022. Again, this ties into the seller's market. We're now going to look at average sale time in the city of York. The average sale time is the amount of days that the home takes to sell in an area. So the average sales time for the city of York is 9 days. This means that the houses are being priced well and the buyers are purchasing. Just a little bit on interest rates. They are an interesting topic in the world of real estate due to a lot of uncertainty, but the current average 30-year fixed mortgage rate as of May 8th is 6.92. And I know that this is a lot of information in a short time, but just to summarize, that the real estate market in the city of York is looking strong with high demand, increasing prices, and low inventory. Homes are selling fast, so if you or anyone are looking to purchase a home, plan to act quickly. I'd be happy to share more information before or after the Q&A if anyone is interested. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share this information with you guys.
All right, thank you, Aristelis. For our last panelist, I'd like to invite John Berkland from Rock Commercial Real Estate, LLC. Active in commercial real estate since 2001, John specializes in sales, leasing, investment properties, and corporate services. John has a strong background in hotel and restaurant properties, previously working as general manager for Vail Resorts in Colorado before moving to York County in 2003. Welcome, John.
So to end this presentation, what we're going to do is finalize. I want to give you a snapshot of the commercial real estate industry. So we're going to start to give perspective and point of reference. We're going to look at York City, York County, and then nationally. So York City contains about 13.3 million square feet of commercial real estate compared to about 129 million square feet of commercial real estate in the county and about 26.5 billion square feet of commercial real estate nationally. Each one of those kind of shows you how they're segmented out. We're going to look at each one of the major asset classes, being office, retail, and industrial. For the sake of definition, when we're talking York City, we are talking the municipal boundaries of the city of York, the 5.3 square miles that make up York City, versus York County. Now, York County is 911 square miles, so figure York City that's 170 times the size. But York City contains 10% of all the commercial real estate in York County. So we'll start with the industrial market, that being the largest, containing about 8 million square feet in the city of York, which is about 58%. Now this is a little bit off, about 5 percentage points less than the national average, and less at 68%, which is pretty high for York County. York County is definitely an industrial market. What's interesting here as far as industrial is asset class. 7 out of 10 buildings in New York City are considered Class C. This means they're typically older, they're bordering functionally obsolete, they're multiple story, low ceilings, don't meet the modern expectations and amenities of what industrial properties, what you're seeing built out on 83 compared to what we have in the city. So we do have an older inventory. We have a decent representation of Class B, obviously Class A. Inside the city limits at 5.3 square miles is pretty low. But this is what's staggering. Look at the vacancy rates. Even though we have older product, older inventory, 1% vacancy. You really can't go down from there. There is 0% vacancy is not attainable. 1% vacancy. 3.6 national. I mean, industrial right now is the hottest asset class. 3.6 is a dream. 2.5 as a county is delightful, but a 1% vacancy rate, there really is no place to go from there. So what? What does this mean? Well, what this means is demand continues to outpace supply. And to jump down to the bottom point, new supply is very limited within New York City because of the dense infill that's already there. Building a new industrial product, the acreage that it would take, the assembly of the real estate to put into a new facility is prohibitive. And then even repurposing the existing industrial properties to meet the current expectations is not feasible. What we're seeing, if it's being repurposed as residential. And those are the projects you're seeing within the city. So with no new supply and continued heated demand, what we're going to see is increased rental rates. And any industrial people know, if you're looking to buy or lease right now, it's painful. Now, if you're a landlord or a owner of commercial or seller of industrial real estate, things are good because you're getting the prices and you're getting the lease rates. Next, we look at the York City office market. Office market contains about 1/4 of the commercial real estate in the city is dedicated to office, which is on pace with, it's pretty good with as far as the national ratios and averages. Now, York County is clearly not an office market, as you can see, with only 10% dedicated as office within the county. Now, everyone knows about the office nightmares. You're going to see that, oh no, start here. I'm sorry, we'll skip ahead. Class-wise, better representation than the industrial. We have more Class A office, the nicer finishes, the more professional offices in the city. And then we have equal amounts of B and C. So a good mix there, a little something for everyone for the office markets. Now, vacancy rates. This is what you hear about on the news. Nationally, we're looking at almost a 19% vacancy rate. Now, these are driven by office markets like Atlanta, Denver, San Francisco, Chicago, that are all hovering around 20%. That's what's driving that number. But York is not really an office market. At 3.7 or 3.9 and 3.7 countywide, that's fantastic. If all the doom and gloom you hear in the office market, and for us to be sub 4 in vacancy, it says a lot about our market and how we're insulated from those national trends. Again, so what? Well, stable vacancy rates. We were looking at vacancy rates back through the several years. They stayed between 4 and 6% for the last several years. They have been within those gears. So we haven't seen great swings either direction. Actually, since 2020, vacancy has declined in New York City for the office markets, which is the exact opposite of what you're hearing. If you turn on the national news, that's not what you're hearing. So stable lease rates leads to a stable environment. We haven't seen big swings. The only thing we've really seen spike is recently we've seen more transactions in the Class A arena. So that has driven up pricing, has driven up the averages as far as the balance as far as volume and the average lease rate. But it really hasn't affected lease rates, but most of the transactions we have seen have been in the higher asset classes, which have bounced the numbers a little bit. So again, York is not a traditional office market. We have proven that we've been insulated. The office that we have really serves the community and has been basically protected from the national trends. Final, York City retail. So retail, about 16%, again, very much in with national averages. York County, more retail than the averages there. With about 2 million, we have a pretty good representation, a variety of those retail spaces. Biggest being shopping centers, but the storefronts, restaurants, automotive, there's a good variety of retail spaces within New York City. And that is reflected in very low vacancy rates. Again, all sub-5 vacancy, all of New York City's vacancy, all asset classes has less than 5% vacancy, which is phenomenal. That shows a very strong across-the-board real estate market. And it's interesting here because, again, the so what, if you turn on the news, it's doom and gloom about bricks and mortar retail. That e-commerce in 2022 exceeded $1 trillion in the US markets. That is, in 2022 was the first year, I think it was 7.7 year-to-year growth, first year in 10 years it wasn't double digits. So we're well over $1 trillion. And the concern out there was the retail myth that e-commerce would kill retail. That storefronts would be empty, no one would go to stores anymore, everything was going to come on, delivered to your front porch. Not true. Not true. It's been proven that there is a need and a want for physical brick and mortar retail. So that, and with the stability of the vacancy, that we're not seeing any swings, we've seen it's a very stable market. A couple new projects every once in a while will cause bounces in the data, but overall, again, very stable. And again, I think the diversity of retail spaces within the city. You have traditional shopping centers, you've got the Market Street storefronts, you have, again, something for everybody. If you want to have an affordable small space downtown, you can get it. If you want a more expensive shopping center space, those are available in the city as well. So, in conclusion, well, you say to yourself, John, that's a great data. How did you get that, synthesize that, aggregate that, present it to us in such a meaningful and beautiful way? That's the Rock advantage. I'm here to tell you what Rock Commercial Real Estate, what we do is we make it a focus. We want to be data intensive. We want to know the facts, what's going on. So what we do, about 2 blocks west of here, we have staff, dedicated staff, searching several different data sources, aggregating that all in to one central database. From that database, we have modified a platform, customized it, so we have advanced research capability that allows us from national to hyper-local. So any questions, real estate, you say, all right, well, John, I don't work for Rock. I can't get that information. Yes, you can. We do quarterly reports. You can stand there, sign up, do quarterly reports from Rock, or visit our website. We have all of our research, market papers listed in our archives. All right, thank you very much. Go ahead. Stay.
All right, thank you, John. So we have a renovated historic theater, a renovated historic hotel, and a sub 5% vacancy rate for retail. So, all right, things are looking up. I do want to invite our panelists back to the stage. We have some time for some Q&A. So welcome back, Aracelis and James. Since John, you're already here, I'll throw a question at you to get things kicked off. What type of businesses do you see interested in commercial spaces in downtown York?
Sure. Downtown York, I think, is attractive to community-focused businesses. What we're seeing, particularly downtown, are regional or even local, I want to say mom and pops, but the ones that really do focus in on the city of York. And they tend to be smaller and I said more community-focused.
Okay, great. We will have some time for some Q&A with the audience, and I'm going to throw a few more questions at our panelists, and then Megan will be around with the microphone if you have any questions. So start thinking if you have any questions for our panelists. But next question is for James. The Yorktown Hotel not only attracts out-of-town guests to stay overnight, but offers gathering spaces for locals. Can you talk about the type of visitors coming to the hotel and what they're using the space for?
Sure, anything and everything. It could be from someone utilizing the lobby area and just working from the soft seating like I was speaking to earlier. People coming in on project that are perhaps staying in one of our beautiful extended stay suites. I just had to segue that in there. It could be anything like that, or people using the meeting space that are here for potentially a deposition that are going to be nearby at one of the courthouse or anything like that. So yeah, it's anything and everything really.
Awesome. And just last week, I actually saw some people bike packing out of the hotel. They were coming from Maryland with their packs and staying in the hotel and using the rail trail. There's like all these great projects coming together. So that was really encouraging to see. Aracelis, a question for you. Just generally speaking, what are buyers looking for in York? And what is the draw for York? What's so appealing for our region and downtown York?
Okay, so what I'm typically seeing is that buyers are looking for affordability. They also want to look at a home that is a little more move-in ready, so updated homes with nice amenities. They are also looking for like a work, eat, and play atmosphere. So they're looking to see like what's within walking distance where they can shop and eat and be able to participate in the activities that are going downtown. And what is appealing, I see a lot of the businesses downtown, they have events almost nightly. It's within walking distance. I also see that there's a lot of different people with like different businesses with different cultures, traditions. They speak different languages as well. So I'm seeing that that's been appealing lately.
Great, thank you. So this is just kind of general question for anyone who wants to jump in here. We've seen an increase in remote working, of course, with the pandemic. A lot of folks have been able to switch their work-life model to working more at home. I'm curious, like how that's affected the various markets, how that's affected kind of housing demand in downtown York, and even I'm wondering, James, from the hotel's point of view, how that's affected visitors to the hotel in terms of remote working.
Sure, yeah. Well, Hilton actually rolled out I can't remember, the name escapes me, but it's day use rooms, that's it. So for people that just wanted to get a little bit out of the house, so if they're sick of the four walls that they typically work out of because they're working remotely, they can go online and book a day use room just to get out of the house and just be in a different space and work from there. But in terms of remote work, being that we've been open for the 3 months or so, in previous hotels that I was at, there was quite an impact because of the remote work going on. It's very much geographic which hotels are impacted by that. But being where we're at, as the Yorktown Hotel, right downtown, I think we'll be just fine with any of the, with the decline in travel for remote work. And we're also very lucky here in the York area for the companies that we have. I'll name the big ones like Harley-Davidson, Wellspan, Voith, et cetera. So we're very lucky in the sense that those people are still doing a lot of traveling, which is great for my industry.
Great.
I wanted to add on to that. As my presentation showed, the remote work hasn't really affected the office market vacancies. We haven't seen a lot of leases dropped in a lot of the big markets, like I said, in Atlanta, Denver. You've seen the downsize and upgrade, which has caused a glut of excess office space. But what we have seen with remote work is, although the leases are there, the employees are not. And if you're downtown empirically, you can see that the daytime populations, the people that come and the professionals that come downtown, is down. And where I think we've seen the most effect there has been in the businesses that rely on that daytime population, the food and beverage outlets, the ones that have cut back hours. You've noticed some of the restaurants are still only open 4 days. Some still don't offer lunches, because that's where I'm seeing the impact, is the ones that relied on those daytime populations that just really have not returned in full force.
And we didn't get any numbers on this today, but I'd also be curious to see trends in terms of folks moving to downtown York who, their jobs are in other major metropolitan areas. If you look at housing prices recently in D.C., they're a little high. So the idea of being able to work in D.C. remotely and live in downtown York and still have that downtown experience, I think, is an asset. And I'd be kind of curious to see kind of long-term what the trajectory of that is. So we do have some time for some Q&A. I think Megan's around with the microphone. So we're getting close to time, but we do have a few minutes. So if anybody has any questions for any of the panelists or myself, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll get a microphone over to you in about the 5 minutes that we have left.
Good morning. I have a group of friends that we are not big drinkers, but we are big eaters, and we like to spend our money after work. The rooftop, we are told, James, that it does not provide food on the rooftop, just drinks. Is there any plans to incorporate food?
There is, yeah. We're actually working on a dumbwaiter for the hotel that we're trying to get some clarity on when that will arrive, which will certainly help us be able to offer a la carte options on the rooftop. The date for that, I don't want to give you a date just yet because it's shifted somewhat over the weeks and months, things like that, but we're looking to roll that out very soon. I could perhaps speak with you just one-on-one, just let you know where we're at with that.
This might be a question for Silas, if he's still here. So there was a lot of discussion about the Cadorus, and that's all wonderful news. I didn't hear any updates about the water quality. Do we know much about improvements there or what the future is going to look like, especially if people are going to be swimming and fishing there?
I'm not even going to try to attempt this one, but I'm gonna throw a line out to Silas. I don't know if you want to comment on this.
Sounds really belligerent when I have to yell it across the theater. So it's a great question, Frank, because water quality in the city of York is based on what happens upstream. The biggest impediments to water quality on the Cadorus right now is sediment and phosphorus that comes off of farmers' fields up in the watershed. It had been historically, obviously, industrial uses. And there's now been enough lawsuits over time and enough work from the DEP that that is not the primary pollutant anymore. So the issues that we're looking at are like algae blooms, sediments, things being carried through the downtown. One of the things I didn't talk about today is that, you know, when you look at watershed improvements across the whole Cadorus watershed and across all of York County for the Chesapeake Bay, we have a watershed improvement plan in place that sort of documents, here's projects that if you were to do this, it would lower by X amount the amount of phosphorus and nitrogen and sediment making its way into the Susquehanna River in the bay. This project, because it has riparian buffers along the entire length of it, actually can help achieve up to 16% of York County's overall sediment reduction goals just with this one project. 16% doesn't sound like a lot. That is literally tons of nutrients and sediment being taken out of the Cadorus Creek. Now the issue is that the water quality by the time it gets there should be cleaner too. So that's where that watershed plan is working towards riparian buffers, forested buffers on farmers' fields. There's actual funding now available for those kinds of projects. And so that work is happening, just a little bit outside of our control. The one thing that will really help is demolition of the Basco Gate Dam and the speed of water, you know, that moves through the community. Right now, since we have a slack water portion of the creek, it slows the water down. The sediment drops out of the water. It can heat up the water. That causes some of the nitrogen to activate with whatever bacteria is there. And so you see these algae blooms and things like that. You see the thicker color of water that's less transparent, looks less clean. Having a faster flow will oxygenate the water, help keeps those sediments moving. So there's a number of things that will help with water quality, but it also has to be related to what's going on watershed-wide.
Phew, thanks for being here, Silas. That was science. Thank you, Silas.
To drive about 10 miles out into farmland and maybe take a look from that perspective. Thanks.
All right, so once again, let's say thanks to our three panelists for joining us today. So things are happening here in historically edgy downtown York, and I want to personally thank you all for partnering with the ongoing work of Downtown Inc. and for joining us here today. Quick reminder, our Sweetest Pint tasting tour is next Saturday, May 20th, 2 to 5 p.m., so make sure you can grab your tickets on our website. To stay up to date on all things downtown York, please check out downtownyorkpa.com or on our social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. Have a great day, and I'll see you all around downtown York. Take care. Thank you.